So there's a pretty deer problem that's been going on in Japan. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to. Come on. It was right there in front of me. It's a deer video. How could you not? Okay. Anyway, if you're still watching, there's a pretty big issue that's been going on in Japan, and it's kind of been going a little bit semi-viral on Japanese Twitter. So I thought we could take a look into that today. So there's a city in Japan called Nara. It's about an hour's train from Osaka, and it's got this huge temple with a Buddha inside of it, and it's actually quite a breathtaking feat to look at just because of the sheer size of it. But that's not really the main attraction of that temple. The main thing is that there's deer outside in front of it. And I know you can lie to yourself and say you're going for the temple, but really, we're all there for the deer, and I was too. Now, the reason these deers are so captivating is because they don't act like your normal run-of-the-mill deers. They're a bit more funny and strange, right? These deers, they've lived there for centuries, and they've sort of really acclimated with humans and the society that surrounds it. And so we see interesting behaviors like these deers waiting at the traffic lights, or deers waiting in shelter for the rain to dry up. And they've even been seen running and chasing tourists who have the stack of biscuits that you can grab around the area. And they do get a little bit aggressive, but nothing that will actually injure or hurt you. Now, there's been a lot of footage going around recently on Japanese Twitter of Chinese tourists who have been doing pretty questionable things to these deers. They've been sort of kicking and hitting them and just treating them like shit in general. And obviously Japanese people have not really taken to this very kindly. Now, obviously, the footage is quite damning for the Chinese tourists, and the Japanese have sort of let them know that this isn't how these deer should be treated.
おい、もう何しとんか、お前。鹿蹴んなよ、足。おい、動物いじめて楽しいんか。おい、
どうした？
どうしたじゃなくて、鹿の足蹴っとったやろ。
何した？
鹿の足蹴っとったやろ。
你干嘛去踢他？
言い訳するんか。お前蹴っとったよな。おい、蹴っとったよな。帰れ。調子乗んな。
警察呼ぶか？
警察呼ぶか。じゃあこいつが捕まるぞ。鹿の足蹴っとったぞ。
どうしたさっき？
こいつが鹿の足を蹴っとったぞ。警察呼ぶんやったらこいつが捕まるぞ。
いいよ。怖いよ今。
怖いよじゃねえっちゅうお前。おい、お前が帰れ。
Now, I think the main issue with what the Chinese tourists are doing is that they're not really understanding of the context or the culture that sits behind these deers. Now, these deers, they've been here for a long time, and in local folklore in Nara, they've sort of been treated as these deities or almost gods, and in a very sort of sacred state. And me personally, looking at these videos, I don't even think these Chinese tourists are treating them like animals, let alone, you know, these sacred divine creatures that they're supposed to be. Now, historically speaking, Japan and China have always had quite a turbulent past, and the Japanese comments have actually been quite racist towards the Chinese. It's interesting to see how it does go straight back to racism and the controversies that have surrounded Japan and China when any issue comes up between them. Now look, I think personally at the end of the day, these types of issues between Japan and China, they're going to take generations and generations to solve. So in the meantime, I think what they can do is accept that change is going to be slow, and the best course of action is to sort of mitigate the pain that they can in the moment. And I think one way they can do this in Nara is to have a little bit more signage around the area. Personally, when I was there, I didn't see much regarding the deers, albeit I wasn't trying to look for it, but you know, having a little bit more just to educate the tourists about the deer and how they should be treated is something to consider. Now, I think with a little bit of understanding from both sides, it can actually help the deer and help tourism in general in Japan. Now, what do you guys think? Let me know. Leave it below. Peace.